Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, place of Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. We are going to do a daily, but not first. First, we're going to do a normal run, an Eden run. Hopefully anything but normal. Yo, the stats... I mean, damage is not good. Everything else is fine, especially when you look at HP. And there's the Joker card, Ares Tuple. Yo. So this is going to crush our rate of fire. No, it's going to slightly impede our rate of fire, but make our run that much better. Dude, this is awesome. I'm not shy of calling it when I see it. We sacrificed all of our HP, but we got a piercing shots, 5.17 damage run, 8 rate of fire. That's unbelievably good. It's so good. We killed that enemy before even knowing that they existed. They popped up in front of us and just died to, you know, what essentially was like the natural spread of our bullets. I did see that tinted rock back there. Oh my god. Normally, we'd be like, oh, it's a quarter. You know, play it cool, right? Not this time. The shop's right here. So, I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of like the idea of a jar of flies. And then I'm going to give you a little cash. I don't want to give you too much because I'd like to donate some, if possible, in the future. So, Jar of Flies is just a more interesting spacebar item, in my opinion. Plus, no. The fact that we have a ton of damage means that, I mean, presumably we'll keep getting a ton of damage, I hope, but the fact that we have a ton of damage means that our flies are going to be that much more useful to begin with. And then we got There's Options, and There's Options will allow us to basically not take garbage items. Normally, this might be a controversial pick in that unique case there, because it is a tiers upgrade, but we're so likely to get a deal with the devil. Divorce Papers is a tiers upgrade, I mean. Plus it gives you a bone heart, but a bone heart does not behave like a red heart for deal with the devil purposes. However, it might behave like 3 spirit hearts. I know that sounds bonkers, but I think it genuinely might work similar to that. So it might, if that's the case, definitely we would rather have the tiers upgrade for some kind of enduring legacy, but otherwise, I'm just playing it safe, and basically I'm saying, hey, give me an item now that essentially amounts to a free deal with the devil later. And if I'm wrong about it, then I'm wrong about it, and if I'm right about it, then I'm right about it, but either way, probably not going to make too much of a meaningful difference early on here, because we are just, like, absolutely destroying my favorite Counter-Strike Global Offensive map. Don't hate me because I'm right, okay? This is definitely... Oh my god, they're going to let us get both. And then they're going to let me keep Jar of Flies, which I'm going to do. Yeah, so we probably maybe wouldn't have wanted to give up HP to take Satanic Bible. The only thing that kind of sticks around as far as the effects of having that are the chance to get like a bookworm later. But I don't know. I look at this run now. Okay, maybe Bookworm wasn't that bad of a decision to try to go for here, passively. But I'm looking at this right now, and I'm like, dude, why would I give up Jar of Flies when we have, like, dominant damage, tier effects, etc., etc.? So this is a good warm-up. I'm going to do a daily after this. It's a very rare situation for me. But this is my first video being recorded of the day. Is 6:04 p.m. Pretty wild, huh? Not really? Alright, well, thanks for watching. I mean, I streamed earlier today for a long time. Or, well, a reasonably long time, like 5 hours. But, 5 hours of playing video games, pretty much like a double shift as far as this industry goes. Either way, I'm warmed up, but I'm not warmed. It's a different story. You know, to be playing games by yourself. When you're you know, recording with other people or streaming with other people, you give them space to do dialogue, you pose them questions, etc., etc. When you're talking by yourself, it's a little bit of a, it's not a marked difference, but there's a little bit of a shift you have to go through, because you're basically doing the same thing, but you're setting yourself up. You're posing questions to yourself for banter-related purposes, and they'd probably keep it a little bit more G-rated roughly on the YouTube channel as a result of not wanting to be nuked into oblivion by Google DeepMind's language filter. Hasn't gotten to Twitch yet. Perhaps one day. If so, I got a lot of highlights on that channel that are they're gonna be scanned by a merciless algorithmic overlord. Anyway, the world is a vampire, but still, we want the card nonetheless. It's a vampire card. Straight out of Magic the Gathering. I do have some anecdotes for you. I've lived a relatively... Ooh, might as well. By my standards, it's been a pretty anecdote-rich week, dare I suggest. Yesterday, I went to the Vancouver Canucks Minnesota Wild hockey game. The Canucks lost. It's hard to explain to people. If you're a very casual sports fan, the idea of paying to see a game that you sort of want to lose is, it's tough to explain, but here's the thing. The way that, you know, a lot of sports work, well, probably any sport, I guess, but particularly a sport where, like, the draft is important. Sometimes, if it looks like the writing's on the wall and your team is garbage, what you're really rooting for is just a good game, you know, and your young players to get some confidence and some points, and then there's like little victories, like an individual winning a trophy or something like that. But you really want to lose. So the Canucks lost last night, and I was like, they played kind of bad at the end, but yay. That's the outcome I wanted. As far as I'm concerned, keep those losses coming, because why win now when instead you could lose now, and every loss gives you like a 0.5% greater chance to win a game in 6 seasons, right? I mean, like, a win is a win, but a loss that turns into a high draft pick could be anything. It could even be a win. Or many wins, but I'm being overly reductive. I gotta say, it was a good crowd. Normally, you know, the last time I... No, we don't need that. The last time I went to a sports... Well, like, almost every time I go to a sports game, I end up... And it's... Honestly, it's just alcohol. It's alcohol combined with, like... I don't know, not thinking about other people. But, you know, I usually have an anecdote of some people behaving badly. Like, I've never had more... I don't even know if I'd call it secondhand embarrassment, but, like... I've never been more ashamed of my city than the time, like... Well, maybe when it rioted during the... 2011 Stanley Cup run, but then again, I didn't live here then. But posthumously, or, you know, retroactively, very embarrassed about any sports riot that happens in my city. But secondarily, I took my parents to see a preseason game, and there were just these really, like, pieces of garbage next to us at the game that were trying to throw their popcorn onto the ice, but we were sitting, you know, like, I don't know, 30 rows back, so they just kept hitting the people in front of them with the popcorn, and we're just like... And they're older than I am, and it was just like, dude, this is sloppy. Like, if you were 17, I'd be like, you know, punk kids throwing their popcorn. But these guys were like 30, 35, and I'm like, ooh, what went wrong? I know what I'm saying is judgmental, but, you know, it's not as much of a dick move as throwing food on other people. Strangers, really, in the audience. You know what? I'm willing to go for it. So I basically just... I was, like, mortified. I was like, oh, my God, Mom, Dad, I promise not everybody here behaves like this. But in my head, I was like, a lot of people here kind of behave like this. I love Vancouver. I love the geological features of Vancouver. I love the climatological elements of Vancouver. I love a lot of the culture elements of Vancouver. There is I think it happens... is natural, but when you get a city that's pretty wealthy, you know, you got a lot of people who maybe just think that, I'm not saying they think the rules don't apply to them, but that maybe, like, I know they're supposed to apply, but maybe just this once, bats eyelashes, we can break the rules. I almost died right there. Anyway, and then there was, like, friend of the channel, Wolf, took us to a game one time, and it was great. I mean, the seats were amazing. It was the rare Canucks blowout victory against a division rival. Doesn't happen that often. This was almost a full calendar year ago. But the people that sat next to us got incredibly trashed, like disgustingly trashed. And then they were eating peanuts, and they just started throwing the peanuts on the ground, or the shells on the ground, I should say. Like it's East Side Mario's or something, right? And then they left after the first period because they were just too trash to continue watching the game, which I was just... And again, it was like a 55-year-old dude and a 35-year-old dude. Notice, now that I'm 30, everybody older than me is now 35. That's something you gotta learn. I will never insult anybody by calling them 30 because it's a slap in my own face. I gotta call them 35 now. I had a good crowd last night. It was nice. I remember thinking that to myself through the drudgery of the third period. I was like, I like the people I'm sitting next to. On my left, there was like a dad and his teenage son, and they weren't having a great time, but I sympathized with them. Like, the kid clearly did not want to be there for whatever reason, but like it seemed like his dad took him, and I was like, man, I sympathize both with the child and the dad. I have, you know, and as a teenager, your dad's trying to share interests with you as you grow into a man, and, you know, you're going to be peers one day while still maintaining that familiar relationship. So you want, you know, shared interests and things to talk about. But the kid, it was written all over the kid's face. He was like, I just want to be playing Fortnite right now. And that's fine. You know, I've been there. So I was like, I sympathize with, I'm like the in-between element here. I sympathize with both of you on this one. And then behind me, there was like a couple of like middle-aged women from out of town that didn't really understand the rules of hockey, but they were having a good time. They were clapping along with the music when it came up, and then, you know, there was like a boarding penalty, and they were like, that shouldn't be allowed in the game. And I was like, it's a good joke, but it isn't. That's what the penalty's for. But like, I like you're thinking. I appreciate that. So it was good. I'm trying to get in the habit. I was thinking about this the other day, too, when I was at the grocery store. Because I went to the grocery store. I left the grocery store with no judgmental anecdotes about, like, oh, this guy bought smoked salmon. At the end of the day, doesn't he think it's going to go bad? What a maroon, you know? I had no anecdotes of that sort, and I was like, maybe I'm growing out of that period of my life where I have entertaining stories from the outdoors. No, maybe I'm growing out of exclusively noticing bad behavior in public, and instead I'm coming to recognize that, you know, civility is not... Ooh, we'll definitely take the speed upgrade. Maybe my problem, which has been very fruitful for me, thankfully, but maybe my problem is that I've always thought civility was the status quo, and bad behavior was the outlier that deserves to be made fun of. And as I've gotten older, there's probably a little bias in here, but I'm like, maybe being well-behaved in public is not as commonplace as I thought. It's probably still much more common than behaving badly, but behaving badly is not the sort of thing you see, you know, once a year. It's the sort of thing you see once every 2 times you leave the house. So I'm coming around to it. I'm recognizing civility where civility stands. Trying to be more positive. Here's to you, guy in the stadium that doesn't just push his way onto the staircase at the end of the game and make sure that the young child doesn't get separated from their parents on the staircase, which isn't really that big of a deal, but might seem like a big deal when you're like 9 years old. Here's to you. You know, we needed some Good Samaritan awards coming back. No Spirit Hearts? I mean, I'm not mad about this run at all. I mean, I'm mad about this run, if you know what I mean. Like the same way that Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt were mad about each other. But it was, wait, I never watched that show. It was part of that must-see TGIT Thursday night lineup on NBC. Is that like a double entendre when they say mad about you? Were they A, crazy about each other, but B, they also drove each other crazy? It seems kind of, maybe I'm thinking of Dharma and Greg, I don't know. It's all sorts of shows like that. He's a straight-laced lawyer who plays by the rules. She's a yoga instructor who makes her own Tupperware. Coming this fall on NBC, it's Normal Guy and Free Spirit. And inevitably, the normal guy is like, I can't have fun. It's a Thursday. And then she goes, oh, just check it out. It's called soup. It's an exotic food. Just eat it. And he goes, wow, this is exotic, but also good. And then he goes, Dharma, You gotta pay your taxes. And she's like, I thought if I didn't make any money, but you get the idea, you know? They make each other better. They complete each other. Yo, we are going too fast. Dharma, did you spend our rent money on gluten-free gummy bears again? They taste so sinfully delicious, and yet ethical. You get the idea. You get the idea. This is, you're gonna think I'm losing my mind here. This run still has a slight chance of losing. It does require extenuating circumstance. That was actually what I was gonna suggest. It requires something like me stepping on spikes multiple times, probably. It requires, you know, getting hit by troll bombs that are hard to avoid, or, you know, I don't want to say impossible, because that one definitely was not impossible, but... And it requires not getting any more HP. And then on top of that, and this is maybe the kicker, it kind of requires playing badly. Which is definitely plausible. But it's a little secret about Isaac. It's a lot harder to play badly when you kill pretty much every room just by walking inside of it. Like, it's a lot harder to screw up your run when enemies don't live long enough to actually attack you. So I'm kind of relying on that to carry us here. But either way, it looks like we're well and truly quite possibly headed for, this will be like 12 wins in a row. Very, very good start as far as like a pseudo streak is going. My mistake. Now it sucks. And we're not really doing this streak, you know, we got other stuff that we need to do. That's why we're trying to donate. We want to take more one makes you larger pills, etc., etc. But for now, you know, I've been playing a lot of farming sim. Let me teach you the #1 rule of farming sim. Make hay while the sun's up. So this is Bookworm, but we cannot really afford it. Still can't. And this is Boss Rush. I think we definitely do want Guppy's head, but it also kind of scares the crap out of me. Where did Loki go? He disappeared, man. I'm actually more worried than you might expect about this. Now, I mean, I like Guppy's head as an item, but I actually think Jar of Flies might be more useful once we get out of here. Right now, I'm operating under the assumption, obviously there's differences here. If it's an enemy that creates enemies, we'd probably rather have Jar of Flies, but I'm not gonna worry about, like, swapping back and forth. I'm sticking with Guppy's head just because it's a good static effect for now. Yeah, I thought usually he does 2 jumps in a row. This is a rarity, by the way. It's a boss rush that we're doing for strategic reasons. Usually, we just get an item from boss rush and then teleport out. This time we're actually, like, doing it for the reason it probably originally existed in the game, which is to, you know, take a pretty big risk, but get a standalone item out of it. So admittedly, trying to land some multi-dimensional baby shots. The idea is extremely simple. Our shots via multi-dimensional baby do more damage, and they're also homing to begin with. So whenever possible. Seems like a sensible approach to me. Now, is this worth it for Guppy's head? No. But it is worth it for Guppy, which on a Brimstone run is just, like, unbelievably worthwhile, of course, as it is on, you know, just about every run ever invented in the entire game. I smell a beam. Nope. And, you know, the beauty of this is there's really only, like, 3 enemies that are actually frightening for us. But if they all hit us more than once, we run into trouble. I mean, we haven't gotten a single Spirit Heart out of this whole boss rush extravaganza here, so I'm being very protective of my HP while it lasts. Or to make sure it lasts, rather. But maybe, who knows, you know, the right side of the screen, it might be El Dorado. Maybe there's spirit hearts over there, the likes of which, you know, they've written about in fables since time immemorial. No, thank you, sir. Okay, he's done. We gotta be getting close. I mean, come on, I'm gonna die of old age here. We're almost done with boss rush. It's been 18 minutes. Like, what am I, made of time? Well, in many ways, I guess we're all made of time. Until we aren't. Sorry, I was trying to be philosophical without actually having any intellectual merit to what I was saying. If you want the hotkey for that, by the way, it's just you say, well, I guess. And then you say something that if you don't think about it would cause someone to go, oh, deep. Yo, I don't know if we've had Sworn Protector, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Scarred Womb 1. Scarred Womb 1 of our days and our nights. Scarred Womb. Yes, that is the Charles in Charge theme song as sung by Ted's a cappella quartet from Scrubs. If you got that reference, that's like a Final Jeopardy question on Northernlion Jeopardy. So if you were able to answer that, I'm mostly just frightened. But also, congratulations. Also, what are you doing still awake? You should be, like, asleep by now. I'm willing to do it. I shouldn't be, possibly, but I'm willing to do it. I'm also, okay. I maybe could have saved that for the chest, of course, but I was hoping we'd get a fortune teller, and we could use that fortune teller to create some spirit hearts with our modestly positive luck. Red chests, please. They are red chests, and this is Guppy, and we win forever. Yeah, like, this is unbelievably great now. You might say that we lucked out here. We bet a lot on becoming Guppy, though. That was not a tinted rock. My mistake. Like, we did boss rush to get Guppy's head. We took Guppy's hairball without having any other Guppy prospects. So if you'll forgive me, I'm not going to apologize for becoming Guppy. If you walk into a curse room and you get 3 red chests and become Guppy immediately, sure, that's like, you can be apologetic about that. Don't let me stop you. In this situation, there was a calculated investment involved here. To be honest, we no longer need Jar of Flies, so let's let it fly with Mom's box. See if we can get anything a little bit more interesting. Immediately, we get the double stat bonus out of Cracked Crown, which is really nice. I know I've mentioned this before. Such a minor, but potentially, I don't think we need any other homing here. Our own shot's already home. We don't have any familiars who shoot. I have my own kind of pet patch that I would make for Isaac when you're trying to get a new save file, and it's oh so simple. If you fight Hush, the Blue Womb is guaranteed to have a non-jammed donation machine. It's basically just one more reward. It says, hey, it looks like you're a good player. You're fighting Hush. We're going to take away the restriction that artificially, you know, lengthens the amount of time it takes to do the save file. And we're going to say, you know, if you come down here, you're doing it, you know, to knock something off the post-it note, or you're doing it for bragging rights or whatever, because your run is fun and you don't want it to end. Here you go. Here's a little bit of an extra reward. Dump that otherwise useless money and go to town. Because for right now, I'm not going to go to the Hush fight with 3 HP, even though we are very strong. Just instead, we're going to kind of rush down the end of the run just because we're not really a glass cannon, but we're like, you know, we're like a crystal cannon. What's higher on the ohm scale? Crystal or glass? I don't know. I don't know anything about the ohm scale. Or wait, is it the Mohs scale? It's both, right? Like, ohms are a measurement of resistance, and Mohs are a measurement of, like, hardness or brittleness? I know this. Dude, I've been watching too much Jeopardy. But this is actually just a blast from, like, you know, grade 11 physics class. That if you're in grade 11 physics class now, or you have been in it recently, you're probably going, this fool, I'm so much smarter than the streamer. When you get to be my age, you'll forget what scale does what as well, okay? I learned about it once when my brain was still fertile. Now it's just shedding information week over week. I used to know. Now you're just a formula I used to know. Maybe I'll forget how to sing badly, and I'll start to be able to sing well as I get older. That'd be cool. Don't know if there's like literally any scientific basis for that whatsoever. Almost certainly not. But it would be sick though. I think this has to be the boss fight. There's just like, we've covered too much ground this way. So this is either going to be an amazing daily warm-up, or it's going to give us a bunch of bad habits because our run is so good we don't need to worry about anything. The rules don't apply to us. I'm already exhibiting the bad habit of not picking up consumables, but that... Oh, geez. That's more just because, at this point, if I get 11 chests on the next floor, I'm not going to be like, I should have gotten the 12th key. I'm going to be like, oh my god, 11 items for free? Thank you. That's so sweet. I'm just trying, in my head, I'm running the iterative simulator, and I'm like, how do we not win? One way, and it's real touchy. I think, I'll hit you with the most likely way first. Oh my word. The most likely way that we lose, that's Bookworm, in my opinion, is, we don't. But the second most likely, that's kind of not fair. The second most likely is we have 2 bad rooms very close together, and we never get off 1 HP. So you have like a double adversary room, and then immediately after they're like, okay, double cage room or something like that, or even double Mega Maw. Could be a bit touchy, but I mean, well, apparently double gate room is not gonna be much of an issue. Not double Mega Maw, that's what I meant, double gate. How fortuitous. But now, dude, like with the damage we're doing, this isn't even close. 25-minute, highly dominant run. I'm a happy man. Public enemy number 1. Understand? Dude, now that... Maybe we're all public enemy number 1. No. That's like a Yorgos Lanthimos film. What if the happier you were, the further it moved you up the FBI's most wanted list? Because there was a zero-sum game of happiness. Look, I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm saying in the hands of an idiosyncratic and yet remarkably critically popular director, it could make for an interesting story. The person is not me, though. I'm giving up the idea for free. All you have to do... People act like ideas are so valuable, you know? And I'm sure there has been a time... Yeah, we prefer this. When they have been... But, like... I hate when people act like... I mean, video games I've talked about before, and people are like, I got a great idea for a video game, but I don't want to tell you because I might make it one day. It's like, dude, here's the thing. If you tell me your idea for a video game, and then I go through the 8,000-hour process of building it, I deserve it. I'm sorry to tell you. Something that came to you in a fit of inspiration on the toilet does not constitute ownership. Somebody putting in that freaking elbow grease and getting the thing made, that's worth something, okay? Obviously, it's different if you're like the game designer. I'm not saying like a writer has no ownership over the story that they write. It's all up to the senior programmer. But like, you know, whenever people are like, I got a great idea for a movie, but I don't want to say it because someone might steal it. I mean, it's like Harry Potter, but instead of wizards, they're all dwarves, you know? And then inevitably, Werner Herzog is like, I never thought of that. He puts together like a $130 million enterprise to make the film, and you're like, he stole it. Anyway, we're going to be back with a daily. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you've seen the episode, and I hope you enjoyed it if you did see it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. And follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Northernlion. Be notified when I want to go live in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!